How's it going, everybody? RazingHel here, and today we're taking a look at a top-down RPG called Kim. Now, this game is something of an interpretation of Rudyard Kipling's Kim, the book he wrote by the same name, and a lot of it is direct reference to that. So if you don't really understand the theming of it, a lot of the dialogue and stuff, it's likely because the source is a text that was written over 100 years ago already. So let's get started. It has a very minimalist menu, but there is a main menu right here. By and large, though, minimalism kind of art style is what we have going on here. Here, for example, during loading screens or any time you need to change the scene, we'll get one of these brief flavor texts. This is largely excerpts from the actual book, as far as I'm aware. I've never read the book, but it is worded in such a way that this would lead me to believe that most likely this text presented here is actually directly sourced from the book. By the way, the book is available for free. I think it is the intellectual rights to it have been released to the public given its age. Okay, we're going to pause right here. So, as you can tell, we have a top-down perspective going on right here. And the one thing I have to say that really attracted me to this game is I absolutely love the art style. It's like a painted look. I meant to pause that, but apparently I didn't. So the game runs full-time unless you have it paused. Anytime you're walking around, it's going to be running. And anytime the game is running, it means that you're going to be, your health is going to go down and your happiness is going to go down as well. What the objective of the game is you're given about 4 years, I think from about 15, okay, maybe about 3 years, to grow up as a child, the protagonist, Kim, in sort of British-controlled India during the late 1800s. Right here we have a map, so you can see exactly what's going on. And as you can see, I should say, started a little journey. I started in Lahore, but we have gone all the way down here. And I currently finished my schooling, which was the objective of that. The game relies a lot on quests. For example, you can see a couple of quests here. Quests or missions, however you'd like to put it. That is generally how you navigate the world. You will try to prioritize those quests first because you have to you have to always be mindful of your current health and hunger, essentially, because you don't make a lot of money in the game. It is one of the hardest things to come by, as your protagonist himself is actually an orphan beggar. So in other words, his profession up until that point is pretty much begging, but he has a turn of fortune when he stumbles across a few very iconic figures, such as his Buddhist teacher or mentor, and I think it was also a chaplain from his now deceased father's former regiment in the British Army here stationed in India. So let's go over the interface a little bit. As you can see, not a whole lot of information on what things do. You have to actually click them, but once you click them for the first time, you will be given a rundown of what everything does. Since I've already done so, I'm just going to tell you. So right here we have the fatigue meter. As you stay awake, and basically whenever the game is running, your fatigue increases. To reduce fatigue, simply go to any location that allows you to sleep. You'll always be allowed to sleep in the rough, but the consequences for doing so are usually, it has a significant impact on your health and sometimes happiness. Next to the fatigue meter is the happiness meter. Right now, my happiness is completely maxed out because, as I pointed out, I just finished his boarding school education that he was sort of directed towards by this chaplain. You can see the recent effects. I'm not exactly sure how they add together, but it's all summed up under happiness. Health is rather interesting as well because hunger is part of health, and if you go hungry, apparently that affects your health as well. The actual food items that you can eat here, I have quite a few of them now, and you can still beg for them even if you already have food items, which is rather an interesting approach. It makes you feel a little bit sleazy for doing it, I have to admit. Right there, to the left of that is actually the clock. It has the date and time, and it's also how you pause and unpause the game. And here on the right side, we actually have the sentry mode. This shows you where everybody's looking at the time, because this game does have stealth elements to it. You can actually sneak around and break into buildings. to steal it, because that is one of the things that the game does really well, is it gives you a lot of choice in how you develop Kim as a character. You can go along with sort of what went with the book, the Kim's adventures in the book, but you can also take alternative routes. You can actually assault, you can murder people, you can steal from them, you can beg, or you can actually work for the items that you have. So it's pretty much up to you. Combat is similar to if you do combat mode. I had not formally activated combat mode, but as you can see, I'm not a very aggressive person. You've activated combat mode. Now you can order Kim to attack other people by selecting their target icon. Be careful not to attack policemen, the blue icon, as they will arrest you or worse. To avoid a beating, find a good weapon before getting into fights. Turn combat mode on and off with the crossed swords button. I'm going to turn that off. So that pretty much applies to pretty much all of these buttons. Whenever you click them for the first time, you'll be given that briefing, so not too much to worry about. Right here we have our quest log at the moment. I have completed quite a few. I'm not sure why they continue to list the completed ones in this order. I would have preferred that maybe they put them in the end of the book or something, because otherwise once you complete the initial quests, whenever you want to look at your additional quests, you have to obviously flip a couple of pages to get to them. Right here we have Kim's inventory. It's pretty aesthetically pleasing. We have a very flavored suitcase. And as you can see, all of the illustrations are hand-drawn. This game took a couple of years for the developers to create, and as you can see, it really reflects in a lot of the aesthetic choices that they have made. A very period piece sort of look to it. I like it. A very hand-drawn kind of art style. We have various different items. Here's my British outfit now, which means I will be able to go to the club. It's a gentleman's club or whatever it was called. But we also have our tattered clothes, and we can also acquire other outfits. My current merit is 355, which is fairly okay. We also just have regular items as well as my food. I got some of these items, for example, the map of Kashmir. Got it from an old Buddhist lady, I believe it was. We even have a dagger here, which I actually should equip, because if I ever happen to get into a fight, it'd be beneficial to actually have something I can fight with besides my fists. And that brings up a rather interesting point, a rather interesting anecdote that I can tell here. During the nighttime cycle, you actually want to be careful when running around the streets, because there are other rogues and criminals running around, and they will attack you if you get within their line of sight. So initially, I think when I was traveling from Lahore, I actually didn't know that, and I got shot a couple of times, which did not do wonders for my health. But the good thing is that when your health reaches exceedingly low numbers, you can actually get free care from a doctor, so it's never too serious. In addition, on my suitcase or my luggage, the little number right there indicates how many deniers I have, I think it is. I am not sure what the denomination is called in India during this time period. I think they're deniers. Could be wrong about that. And then, of course, the map, as I pointed out before. Here we have the main menu. There are a couple of interesting things here, like hide buttons. I'm not sure why you would want to hide the interface like that. You just end up with this big show button. Suppose it adds to the theming of it, like I mentioned before. We also have a photo album. These are actual photos that the developers sourced from, I think it was the British Library Archives or something. They have permission to use them. They made quite a big point about the fact that they were being included. Whoever was in charge of developing the game actually loved Rudyard Kipling's novel quite a bit. Unfortunately, I think the name itself lets the game down a bit, because it makes it very difficult to search for it just online in general. We have options, pretty standard stuff, nothing to write home about. The score actually has a leaderboard in it. This is my current score based off of my performance, but here is a live active leaderboard to my knowledge. As you can see, apparently somebody cheated to be at the very top of it, because that's an astronomical number in comparison to pretty much everybody else that's on here. My current ranking is 268 just based on score. So unfortunately, you can tell there are not a whole lot of people playing this game. If I can end up at 268 total out of, I think, about 2.5 hours that I put into playing the game, it's a little bit unfortunate, because there was a lot of effort that went into this game as far as I'm aware. It is not It is quite different from anything else that I've seen up until this point. It's not another one of these copy pasta games. Info, we can take a look. A lot of credits right here. And you can see the British Library Board. A lot of the graphics that they used, the images that they used, you can see them in the photo album. The artwork itself is all done by the developer, as far as I'm aware. Unfortunately, we cannot start a new game until we abandon the current one, which is kind of why I didn't want to start a new game to show you all of that. Abandoning the game will just delete your original one and then start a new one, so you don't get multiple save files, which I think is unfortunate, but I could chalk it up to additional theming for the game. So after going through all of that, let's do some stuff around the towns. I'm gonna unpause it. There we go. And now we can, as you can see, we have a top-down view of Kim, and we're running around. Let's check out the train station. You can see we can travel to various different locations. It's going to cost me rupees. That's what the denomination was. I forgot the name of it. The further away you want to go, the more it's going to cost you. And rupees are difficult to come by, but it is the fastest way to get around the map. Like, you can travel from here to Delhi, for example, in like for 20 rupees or so. And it's a lot faster than actually going through the countryside. I've tried going through the countryside, and you end up with this kind of a look, where you sort of loop around because you have to go in, essentially, in most locations anyway, in the 4 cardinal directions, which is rather unfortunate in my opinion. Here, this character is talking. He is a British policeman, and apparently he wants to talk to me about Chela. So a lot of dialogue is like that. We can take a look at the traits of the person you're conversing with, their opinion. Their opinion affects how much they like you. I've never actually encountered somebody who hated me. Like, all of them seem to be about 45 or higher. Their traits themselves are actually rather interesting, but usually only when dealing with somebody who you want to get something from. For example, a merchant who is stingy is not going to give you anything if you beg off of them. That might sound cold and calculating, but I guess that's the world of a beggar. For example, right here, we can beg from this Hindu grocer, but he is generous, so likely he would give me something if I needed it. If you compare that to somebody else who, for example, is miserly, demands over the odds for cheap items. And that is pretty much every city in a nutshell. If we go to the edges of the map, I'm pretty sure there's an icon around here somewhere that allows you to escape. Oh, here it is, right by the train tracks. And this is another way besides the train station that you can go to another location. We could travel west, for example, here. We have some options deciding on exactly how we're going to travel. If we travel at a leisurely pace, we're going to get more happiness, but it's going to increase the amount of time it takes. And since we're limited to about 3 years, the amount of time that you take to do something can have an impact on how long the game will last and how much time you have to get stuff done. Normal is pretty much normal, and hurry is actually going to decrease the number of days, but also it's going to decrease happiness as well and increase fatigue. 33 versus 68. Here we can either sleep inside or sleep outside. This basically is, are you willing to spend rupees to not decrease your health as much? And health is an important thing. Right now I have full health, so it's not a big deal. So we're going to sleep outside and beg for food because it's not going to cost us any rupees. I don't have a whole lot of rupees. As you can see, only 63. I spent a lot to travel here by train. So every time you sort of change scenery, you're going to get, like I pointed out, flavor text like this. It is randomized, and it is not really important to read it, but you can read it if you like the book, I suppose. So here we are. As you can see, it's now nighttime, and we have some characters walking around here. It's a Hindu policeman. There's a water buffalo, apparently. I am hungry, so let's take a look at that. Is this a game? No, the game is paused whenever you click on these things. As you can see, I've been hungry for 2 hours now. Recent effects, also hungry for 2 hours. It affects both health and happiness, apparently. The best way to eat food is actually to go into your inventory, because you'll be able to see all the stats for it. For example, minus 10 fatigue, 1 happiness, 1 healthiness, and 6 hours of no hunger. So we'll just go ahead and eat that. As you can see, it decreased my fatigue a little bit there, and my character is no longer worried about health. Since we're next to a train track, let's take a look at the map here. As you can see, I have traveled a little bit out from the city, but at the same time, we have an event down here, Meet the Llama in Sarnath. I'm not sure if that's how it's pronounced. I should have actually gone in the other direction, but no matter. We can actually take the train from here, I hope. So we're going to get on that station. Can we get there? I don't think it actually goes there. Let's look at some of the other things around here. Here's a house. We can break into houses by getting a pick lock. I don't own one currently because they cost a lot of money, but instead of investing my money in traveling, I could have instead invested it in pick locks and then robbed houses. But of course, you risk getting caught. And since the game is rather roguelike, that's never a good thing. Here we have a campfire. We can restore my fatigue or reduce it, which would probably be a good idea before actually doing anything else. So let's go ahead and restore that fatigue to 0. It's going to subtract 1 health regardless of how long we actually sleep. But as I pointed out before, the hours that you spend sleeping actually do matter, because during the nighttime, especially in cities, there are going to be other criminals out and about who will attack you on sight. So no honor among thieves, I guess. There are some characters around here that you can talk to. In general, they don't have a lot to do with the game. So I'm not exactly sure why you'd want to, but I suppose it might play into the more randomized aspect of it. Some of these might give you quests in a different randomized version of the game, but you can hold conversations with some of them. He's a soldier. Apparently we're going to be talking about his profession. You get merit for talking with them, which might be one of the main reasons for doing so. As you can see, as you gain more merit, people respect you more and they're more willing to it's like influence in a way. But enough said about that. Let's get onto the train platform and take another look at the map here. What would be the closest place? Benares. Let's see if we can do that. Yes, we can. It's going to cost us 20 rupees and it's going to take 16 hours. That's not going to be a problem. I have 63 rupees, so let's get on the train. As you see, the train is pulling into the station right here. Fully animated, sound effects, very nice. And it will stop and our character will get on. And then it will actually depart. So there you go. As Kim boarded the mail from Delhi, he spied the one second-class carriage on the train. Entering, he looked down upon a snoring Englishman, half covered by a railway rug. "Excuse me." He didn't so much as twitch. Kim dug him gently in the ribs. He woke with a grunt and revealed a great and shining face. "Tickets again?" "No, I met a friend of yours. He asked me to tell you that he is gone south. He is gone south." As you can see, we completed a quest here, and I got an achievement for that. I also got some additional merit. "He has gone south. We have plans." Now that's just his impudence. Did he say that I was to give you anything? Because I won't. The man settled himself to sleep again, and Kim found an empty carriage of his own and dozed off, wondering what would become of his loafer friends. So that was me completing a quest. As you can see, I unlocked another achievement. That was me completing a quest that I had formerly accepted from a fellow beggar, essentially. Okay, so we have arrived now in the latest city of Benares. Benares? I don't know how to pronounce that word, so I'm going to do my best regardless. As you can see, every time you reach a new city, they'll give you one of these historical pieces of artwork, as well as some flavor text from the book, I imagine. Or this is some sort of writing. All the writings in this game are not easy readings, so in general, I don't read them because I was actually trying to focus more on the gameplay itself. But if you're somebody who can appreciate the writing style of that time period, this is definitely something you'd probably be interested in looking at. Okay, we've arrived here during the night, and a lot is going on. I hear a dog. Not exactly sure what that means. If we look at the map, you can see I'm there, but I still am not close enough to actually complete this quest. I needed to meet the llama there. The llama is my traveling companion, and he is sort of the mentor to Kim. And they travel around a lot, and he was with me the entire time until I actually went to that boarding school. And take a look at the quests here. Like I pointed out before, I have completed another one. Let's see if we can find it. Yes, right here, the loafers. A favor for a fellow passenger. I found Daniel Dravot on a train, so that quest is completed. And by completing quests, you increase that score that I pointed out before, right here. And I guess that is the sum of pretty much all of your activities in the game. So why would you be interested in playing this game? Personally, I think it was, for me, what attracted me to it the most was the art style. It has an art style that reminds me very much so of Don't Starve and games like that, a very hand-painted art style. I think a lot of work was actually put into it, and while some people might not exactly appreciate the complete top-down look to it, I think it is fully functional and is actually a nice change from a lot of what you see. It's a bit like Prison Architect in that sense, with that complete top-down look to it. Or even Hotline Miami also had a similar perspective on it. But it is mostly for people who probably enjoyed the book or are looking for something a little bit more historical in terms of games. So that, I think that is generally what attracted me to it, because a lot of the games I play deal with historical elements. So I can appreciate history in some ways more than fiction, because a lot of the times history is just better fiction. It might not be as outrageous, but it is just as nuanced and interesting to somebody like me anyway. So anyway, that is Kim. I do encourage you to check it out if you were interested by anything you saw here. Like I said before, there are only 8 reviews for it. They are positive, but I feel like the game was sort of underappreciated for the amount of work that was put into it. You can see the developers really do care based on the updates that they provide. They're very professional looking updates, provided rather frequently. They included all that artwork and it was fully credited and all that stuff. The pictures, they weren't exactly artwork, they were pictures from the British Library. So it's a game that it tells a story about a time period that is unique. It was from Kipling's perspective, the writer, and it is not told much before. I mean, how many other games do you see that focus on this British Raj period in India? I think you'd be hard-pressed to find another RPG that does that. Certainly there are more grand strategy games that focus on that, but I was just a little bit sad to see that a game that so much effort that was apparently put into it and so much love was put into it was not all that well known, essentially. And I was hoping that even somebody with an audience as small as mine, if anybody was interested in it, they would go and check it out. So yeah, that is Kim. Once again, thank you very much for watching as always, and I hope to see you next time.